think it's safe to say that when it comes to expectations for this season, arguably the one who had the most was Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, who had just demanded a trade in the offseason prior from the Cleveland Cavaliers, who has the best player in the world in LeBron James, and they had just went to 3 straight NBA Finals and won in 2016, overcoming a 3-1 deficit to the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. And a lot of people said, why would he ask for a trade from such a winning organization, or should I say a winning situation, not a winning organization, because it's really just LeBron winning. And if we're being honest, a lot of people really doubted his success or the belief of his success in Boston. And if I'm being honest, I believe Kyrie Irving not only lived up to the expectations that a lot of people put on him with his talent and the talent surrounding him, but he superseded expectations, as his team had the best record if it wasn't for the Rockets going on their little win streak and them losing a few games in the road. But his team had a lot of success, especially early on in the season. They went on a 16-game winning streak, and currently right now, they are 26-8. They have the 3rd best record in the NBA, and they are number 1 in the Eastern Conference. And Kyrie Irving is putting up numbers and shooting splits that are actually really, really good for the leader of the team. He's averaging just under 25 points per game, 1 steal, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, shooting 89% from the free throw line, 40% from 3, and 49% from the field. You would think his efficiency would go down being the number 1 option instead of the number 2 option, but his efficiency basically in all areas actually kind of went up. His 3-point percentage stayed relatively the same, but his percentage from the field actually went up. And his turnovers, it's a 5-to-2 turnover ratio, so it's really not that bad in that area. Now, when it comes to Kyrie Irving in the playoffs, that's just another story, because who knows what he's going to be in the playoffs with this really, really young, inexperienced team. Jaylen Brown just got his first year in the playoffs in his rookie year. Jason Tatum is a rookie. I mean, so many aspects, so many young pieces. Who knows how they'll perform in the playoffs? But right now, this team is superseding expectations, especially when you consider that Gordon Hayward went out in the first game. They were expected to be arguably a top 5 team in the league, and a lot of people, including myself, thought that they would drop to about a 5th or maybe even a 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. But not only did they stay afloat as the number 1 team in the East record-wise, but they were beating teams that, to be honest, they had no business beating. Teams like the Milwaukee Bucks and the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of people, if you told me in the beginning of the season that Gordon Hayward was going to go out in the first game of the year, people would pick the Bucks and the Spurs to beat them, but they actually beat both of those teams on that 16-game winning streak, and a lot of people expected that 16-game winning streak to go basically down the drain against the Golden State Warriors, but they beat the Golden State Warriors. And if we're being honest, that really solidified that the Celtics are one of the top teams in the league, and it's crazy that they don't even have their 2nd best player. And next season is going to be very interesting to watch how the Celtics play with Gordon Hayward returning back. But that's enough of the Celtics talk. We're here to talk about Kyrie Irving. And the reason I talked about that is because they are being led by a guy that a lot of people said is not a leader. A lot of people said cannot lead a team. And I am not going to lie, I was one of those people. I did sit here and I said, without LeBron, Kyrie Irving, he's not really a great leader. He's an ISO scorer. He's kind of like a better version of Carmelo. I sat here and I said that. He's not a great passer. And this season, I'm not going to lie to you, he's averaging just under 5 assists. And I expected it to be in the 7, maybe even the 8 range, maybe, at lowest the 6. But, at the end of the day, he's proven me wrong. He's actually giving effort on the defensive side of the ball. The Celtics are actually one of the best defensive teams in the league. Offensively, yes, he is scoring and getting his, but he is doing it efficiently, as he has a career high in field goal percentage and 49%, shooting really, really well from 3 and 40%. And from the free throw line, he's making his free throws. We all know Kyrie Irving's going to do that. And actually, when you look at the turnovers, it's not that high. 2.3 turnovers a game, that's actually really, really good. So at the end of the day, Kyrie Irving is proving everybody wrong. But the question I want to ask everyone is this: is Kyrie Irving the best point guard in the league? And if not, where does he rank among the point guards in the league? Let's just start with Steph Curry. Steph Curry, in my opinion, is considered the best point guard in the league, hands down. His shooting ability is ridiculous offensively, and defensively, he's not any slouch. And I actually believe that this year, if you actually watch him play this year, he's gotten better on the defensive side of the ball. He's not an elite defender. He's not even a good defender. I wouldn't even say he's an average defender. He's a little bit below average, but he is, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rank him around a 6. But when it comes to Kyrie Irving's defense, it's around that 4 area. So I think Steph edges him in the defensive side of the ball. And offensively, the fact that Steph, once he crosses half court, and you got to guard him. That's just how great he is. And the spacing, what he does for an offense is unlike any offensive player in the league. And then when you consider the fact that Steph Curry was having a phenomenal year and his 3-point percentage wasn't the reason why. He was actually shooting a career low from 3 and below 38% from 3. So when you look at all the aspects of this season, even though Steph Curry was not playing the best that he's ever played, he was still playing better than Kyrie, and he has the accolades and the numbers throughout his whole career to back that up. So I think Steph Curry is, the #1 point guard in the league. I think he's definitively better than Kyrie. And then when you look at other players like Chris Paul, who's having a phenomenal year. Chris Paul has been amazing. When you compare his numbers to Kyrie Irving, I mean, who's to say that Chris Paul's not better? Who's to say Kyrie's not better, especially when you look at the records of their both respective teams. Kyrie Irving is leading his team to wins and putting up numbers and doing it efficiently and not turning the ball over. Chris Paul is doing actually the same thing. He's not leading the team, don't get me wrong, but he, went into that team, went into that system, the D'Antoni system. A lot of people put expectations on both him and Harden, saying, how are they going to work together? They're 2 point guards. Me and Harden did play the point guard last season. They're 2 ball dominant players who handle the ball, can facilitate. They're on the same team in a D'Antoni system. Can they play off ball? And to be honest, I thought that it would work because Harden has played off ball before in Oklahoma City. He's played with a ball dominant player in Russell Westbrook. So when it comes to James Harden, Chris Paul, I didn't really see any doubts coming into the season, to be honest. And Chris Paul proved me right. He's been phenomenal this season as they have the #1 record in the league. They just went on a long winning streak that just came to an end against the Los Angeles Lakers of all teams. Shout out to Kyle Kuzma for putting up those buckets, by the way. And this team has been on a roll. They're the #1 team in the Western Conference record-wise, and they're a serious threat to the Golden State Warriors. Now, is Kyrie Irving better than Chris Paul? I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to say he's better than Chris Paul because let's just be honest here. Chris Paul, he has been so great and so consistent throughout his whole career. He's better on the defensive end. Kyrie is really just a better scorer. Chris Paul's out here grabbing 5 rebounds. He's outdoing him in there. He's getting more assists than Kyrie Irving, and he has less turnovers per game than Kyrie Irving, which is just straight up ridiculous. And let's just be honest here. I think he's a better shooter. I personally believe he's a better shooter, even though he's in the D'Antoni system. I know that, but I believe Chris Paul is a better shooter. It's just that he doesn't shoot threes that much because he's trying to facilitate and get other people involved in the game. And then when you consider the fact that Chris Paul is the #2 option, and he's averaging 17 points per game, and he's doing so much on the court that it's just ridiculous that his efficiency is still at 48%. I give him mass props there. If he was the #1 option in a D'Antoni system, who knows how many points per game he's be putting up. So that's why I'm not going to value Kyrie Irving's scoring ability over Chris Paul's scoring ability to be the deciding factor in Kyrie Irving versus Chris Paul. And then when you consider the other aspects that I brought up, I'm still going to put Chris Paul above Kyrie Irving in the point guard list. Then there's someone like Russell Westbrook, who this season, I don't think he's performing better than Kyrie. He's actually underachieving this year. He's not shooting that well from the field, shooting 40% from the field. He's turning the ball over at a very, very high rate. He has 2 All-Stars in Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, and they're underachieving. They're not a top 6 team in the Western Conference record-wise. They're just not living up to the expectations. And if I'm being honest, I gotta give it to Kyrie based off of this season. But I'm not going to call Kyrie a better player than Russell Westbrook, so I'm sorry, I cannot put Kyrie above Russ when it comes to the top 5 point guards in the NBA based off of just what I've seen from a few games in the season so far. And let's just be honest here. If Kawhi Leonard is having a bad first 10, 20 games, are we going to say he's not a top 5 player anymore? No, we're not going to do that because we have to wait and see the consistency from other players. And if he consistently underperforms, then you can start, having those conversations. But until I see Russ also in the playoffs, until I see Russ, do other things that, knock him off that slot, I'm not going to say Kyrie is better than Russ. I'm not going to say that yet because let's be honest, Kyrie Irving, it's only been a few games, okay? It hasn't been a few, don't get me wrong. We're almost halfway through the season, but that's the thing. We're almost halfway through the season. We're not even at the All-Star break, so I cannot sit here and say based off of 30 to 40 games that Kyrie's better than Russell Westbrook. I can't do that yet. And I'm not going to disrespect Russ like that. So I do not think he's better than Steph. I do not think he's better than Russ. And I do not believe he's better than Chris Paul. Now you have players like John Wall. You have players like Damian Lillard, Kemba Walker, Kyle Lowry. And to be honest, Kemba and Kyle Lowry, I think he's far better than them. I think it's definitive that he's better than those players. No disrespect to them. Kyle Lowry is a great rebounding point guard. Kemba Walker is a great scoring point guard, but I think Kyrie edges them out. You can honestly just look at the accomplishments of Kyrie and just edge them out of the conversation with them and Kyrie Irving. And then when you look at players like Damian Lillard this season has not been that great. And let's be real, the Blazers are winning games kind of in spite of some of his performances. Let's just bring up some examples. Against Charlotte, they won by 2 points, and Damian Lillard did not have a good game at all. He had 18 points, 5 turnovers, and shot under 37% from the field. Against Miami, they won by 7 points, and Damian Lillard did not have a good game at all. He had 18 points and 6 assists, shot 17% from 3 and 35% from the field. I mean, Damian Lillard is just not having a lot of great games, and to be honest, they're not catching a lot of wins in comparison to the Boston Celtics at least. And when you look at some of the losses that they've had, you can kind of blame Damian Lillard. Let's just look at his field goal percentage. He's not shooting that great from the field this year, and if we're being honest, Damian Lillard is kind of underachieving. He's averaging 25 points per game. Don't get me wrong, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Those are good numbers, but the efficiency from the field, when you look at the losses, I mean, it just really explains some of the losses that this team suffers. Don't get me wrong, he's not having a bad year. There are just times where he's underperforming, and when you look at what Kyrie's doing, beating teams like the Warriors, competing with the Cavs, beating the Bucks, atop of the Eastern Conference, I gotta put Kyrie ahead of Damian Lillard. And then when you look at John Wall this season, I'm not going to take anything away from him. I believe that he is a top 5 point guard in this league. What he can do on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, I think it is just phenomenal. But I believe Kyrie may be edging him out among the top point guards in the league. Kyrie Irving is putting up more points than him, doing it more efficiently, and I believe even though John Wall has been playing through injuries, when he came back, he has not really been performing at an elite level that I expected him to perform at. In the games that he's been back, he's averaged 15 points, 4 turnovers, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, nearly 2 steals, a block, but shooting splits that are just unacceptable. 41% from the free throw line, 36% from 3, and 35% from the field. I understand it's not that many games in that he's came back, but when you consider the fact that earlier in the season he wasn't performing that well, he comes back, he's still not performing that well, I kind of have to put Kyrie above John Wall this season. And to be honest, right now, if I'm ranking my point guards, I gotta put him above him, because the thing about Kyrie in the beginning of the year and a lot of people's perceptions when he was in Cleveland, it's just that, you know, Kyrie was playing with LeBron and he was putting up really good numbers, but now he's playing without LeBron, he's still putting up really good numbers. And John Wall, his efficiency, you know, the lack of the ability to shoot from 3, sometimes his defensive, you know, inconsistency, I have to put Kyrie above him, especially when you consider the fact that they're getting dubs without Gordon Hayward. That's really the number one factor here. Kyrie's leading that team's to W's without his second best player, who's considered a top 20 to maybe top 25 player in the NBA. So I gotta give Kyrie the props. I believe that the rankings for the best point guards in the league, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, and then you have Kyrie Irving. So shout out to Kyrie, because I believe he's balling. He is balling beyond expectations. He's superseding the expectations. And if I'm being honest, there's nobody who was given the expectations of Kyrie this year, especially when you consider the fact that the hate that he got from a lot of NBA basketball fans, from a lot of, you know, Cleveland fans, and a lot of just people in general, to leave a great situation just so you can perfect your craft and have your own team with all those expectations. He superseded it, and I give him his mass props. That is why he is a top 5 point guard in the NBA. So if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. Comment down below if you agreed with my, you know, assessments on Kyrie Irving, where he ranks among the point guards in the league. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section. Also, you guys, make sure you vote in the poll in the annotations on where you think Kyrie ranks among the best point guards in the league. If you don't think he's top 5, explain that down below, because that is just something that I really do need an explanation for. So without further ado, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, add me on Snapchat. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Peace.
Popping all these pills, she said she used to it. She wanna go way up. Okay, baby, if you're used to it. And you a grown